So it's been a little bit over a year now. It was a year in July since I got my Yamaha EAD-10 and I started using it for drum covers, streaming on Twitch, and just playing in general. I know in that video I said to keep a lookout for a more in-depth review video, and I never got to that. I was just thinking about this tonight and I'm just like, hey, I should do that since I actually kind of know what I'm talking about now. So if you have a Yamaha EAD-10, this is the video for you. If you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to drop them in the comments if I don't answer them in this video. But I will do my best to be as comprehensive as possible in this video so I can answer as many questions as you may have. Because on that unboxing video, there's like almost 50 comments of people asking me stuff. So I try my best to respond, but I can't get to everybody. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And yeah, so obviously, this is the module here, and then this is the actual sensor unit. So the sensor unit sits right here on the bass drum. There's a little clamp that screws on so it doesn't wiggle around. And then I personally use the 90-degree connectors here. It doesn't really matter. It's a 1/4-inch cable. Then I have them running through here and up into the module. That is what comes with the module itself, and then also a power cable. Everything else that you see is something I've added on. So I just have power running into there. If you want to record with anything, so you just got the EAD-10 set up, the first scene you are going to see using this control knob here is one called Arena. I personally don't really use this one because I'd have no need for the reverb. Right here, this is your master volume, so this will increase the volume of your drums and the audio and click just overall. And then this is to just specify the audio or metronome if you have it plugged in using a 3.5 millimeter cable with an attachment of your choice. So that's how you start playing the drums. If you have these connected, which I covered in the previous video, they are labeled A and B, and there's A and B on the back here, so you'll figure that out once you actually get it in your hands. Yeah, so plug each of those in, plug it into power. If you want to have a secondary audio device, there is a port right here. That's where the aux in goes, and you can see the A and B labels right here. And this one I will get to along with this. Also, if you want to hear yourself, you're going to need headphones. I have a little adapter right here like this, so because it is a 1/4-inch jack on the bottom here. And then I just have that running to a set of in-ear monitors, and then I can hear myself no problems. So after you've been playing on it for a while, you're going to want to expand and actually record with it. To record with it, you will need a USB Type B, otherwise known as a printer cable, the one with the end that looks like this. So, ending that looks like this, it's rectangular, I just had a stroke. So you will need one of those to either a USB-A ending, which goes into here, or you can get an adapter for a cell phone, which is what I have right here, or I'm sure you can get USB-C ones to go into computers, but I'll get to all that later. So if you want to just record, let's say using an iPhone, like this one for example, all you have to do, plug the USB into the EAD-10 module, plug the USB end into here, and this end into the charging port on your phone, open your camera app after like 10-15 seconds, and then everything will all be connected. There's nothing extra you need to do. For me, I just stick my phone up in the ceiling, and then you get this kind of view. So that's how all of my drum covers are filmed. It's nothing fancy, and all I have is a cable right here that runs down my wall, and then it'll run into the EAD-10, but I'm doing things a bit differently now. I'll get into that. So that's how you start recording and how you start playing, bare minimum. For the trigger, so inside of here is what's called a trigger, so it'll pick up the vibrations when you hit the kick drum, and then it uses, I think, cable B, I don't know. It sends that signal back into the module, and here you can change that sound. So the preset is hard rock, but you can see so I have a second trigger here. If I tap it, it'll select a snare, but then if I tap the kick drum again, it'll go back to kick. So just for the kick, for the sake of the video, there's so many sounds that you can have here. Just mess around, see what sounds good. This knob here labeled trigger changes the volume in the mix of whichever trigger is selected in the corner here. So if I want to change the volume of my snare, tap it to simulate me hitting it, it'll say snare, and then I can adjust the sensitivity of that, if you will. It's not really sensitivity, it's more volume, if anything. This effect knob here is not something I use a whole lot. That's just a personal preference, honestly. So I'm gonna go back to this scene that I set up real quick. So this effect knob, obviously, I just use the one that's called Through because it's literally no effect whatsoever. It doesn't change a single thing about the drum sound, so it's just the one that I use most often, and that's the preset. But there's a lot. There's modulators, phasers, there's distortion here, compressor. There's a lot of stuff you can do with it, but it's just not something that I use. I typically do all of that in post. Same thing here with the reverb knob. There's a lot of great reverb options. You just press that button, and then I have it preset to studio. There's a hall, studio, rooms, there's stages, which if you want to pretend you're playing live, then there you go. But yeah, all this I don't really do a whole lot because this is just more of an interface to me. So once you have all that, you can connect it, like I said, to your phone if you just want the camera, or if you open like voice memos or something just to get the audio. That's how you do that. If you want to do any sort of processing, I'm sure there's mobile apps that you can download to process the audio, mix it, master it, do all that fun stuff. Or just get a DAW. This one is called Cakewalk. It's by BandLab. It is 100% free to download, free to use. I just got this recently, actually, and I've been doing drum covers for about a year, if not more now. So you don't need all this, obviously, to do this, but I literally just downloaded this 2 days ago. So I'm still learning. And even the most recent cover I did, Animals by Architects, a redo of that cover, that was just edited in BandLab itself. So I'm gonna be using this from now on. I'm not even gonna try to get into this. That's a whole nother video in itself. So after you're done recording, and that's the basics of recording everything. This button right here is something that I would recommend doing during setup, but if you forget for whatever reason and the recordings sound a little funky, this could be your culprit. So if you press this button, this is going to show you the sensitivity of not only the bass drum trigger, but the 2 stereo microphones that are underneath this grill here. So what I would just recommend to do is press this auto button, and then it will say adjusting, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want to mess with my settings. When it says adjusting, just play. So when it goes like that, just play whatever you would typically play. Even just a rock beat is more than enough, just so it can kind of get a feel for how you play, how hard you hit the drums, and then it can adjust those settings accordingly to get better recordings. So if your recordings are a bit too loud or too quiet, this could be your issue. If not, you can always just manually adjust it with the arrow keys here to select the different ones, and then the plus and minus buttons to change those. So that's really all that's in there. Right here's the metronome. If you want to tap the tempo, you can do it like this and just press this button repeatedly. Or if you want to get real fancy, you can press the kick drum and it'll use the trigger in here to get that tap tempo. Apologies for that little cut there. So this button right here actually activates the metronome, so you'll see right down here. That's the pulse of the metronome, and it's coming through my monitors right now, but I don't think the camera's picking that up. And then to deactivate it, you can either just press this again, and same thing to activate it, obviously, or you can just press that again to stop it, to start it. For this, I don't even want to bother with this. This is just mumbo jumbo to me. It works fine for me. And then if you want to change the voice of the metronome, I do Metronome 2 because I just prefer that one. There's so many other ones, I'm not even gonna bother going those, but my personal favorite is 2. And that's really it. So let's say you wanted to create a new scene with this much trigger, that much effect, and that much reverb. Then you would press this store button here, and if you wanted to change the name, press the name button, and you can go through. That takes a lot of time though. It's pretty user-friendly though. And if I wanted to save this, just press store, and then you're all set to go. And then it'll say like saving or something like that, and then you have a brand new preset, and then you are all good to go next time you fire up the unit. Going back here a little bit to this preset, in this menu option here, so before we get to that, if you want to add another trigger, which I have here, it's a Roland RT30H, just sits here on the snare drum, kind of behaves the same way as the kick drum trigger. But this is something separate. This is a separate purchase. This does not come with EAD-10. Just get another 1/4-inch cable. Any instrument cable will work. Plug that back into the back of the module right here. You can see it says snare right there. So plug it in if it's a snare trigger. If not, then just do it in one of the other 2 trigger slots, which are up here. Once you do that, you're going to have to press this menu button like I showed in here, press go to trigger, and then go to pad type. It's very finicky with the way it's like this, because the kick sensor, if I can activate that, it just kick sensor. Don't mess with that, just leave it as is. However, for the snare sensor, if you have a Yamaha DT50S, which is the one that Yamaha actually recommends to use, but I just wanted to be different, then this will be the good preset for you. However, I found that DT10/20SN is a decent enough program. It can control dynamics, it can control volumes. The only complaint is that it picks up rims a lot and it registers it as a snare hit. So I'm sure if you got a dual zone trigger, that would be fine, but this is only a single, so I cannot vouch for that. That's gonna have to be your own research. As far as other stuff goes, you don't really have to mess with a whole lot else. If you have any questions about this stuff, look at the user manual. But here in Scene Edit, I have never gone into here, so I highly doubt that you would ever have to do that yourself. In Utility, for general, it's just, again, none of this stuff you're really gonna need. The only thing I've ever touched was this headphones EQ, just to bring up the bass a little bit. That's it, and that's only the output through your headphones, which are obviously going into your ears. So, again, not really a whole lot you're gonna need in here. Same thing with Job. There's just not a whole lot that you're gonna need in these. All this, it's just a more difficult way to do it, and then obviously factory reset, which is right there. That's kind of self-explanatory what that does. Stay away from that button. But yeah, so that is the quick way to record with the Yamaha EAD-10. Like I said, there's a lot of extra stuff you can add to this. I've had a lot of people ask me, the question that outweighs the rest of them is, can I record with an auxiliary input and have my drums at the same time? No, it is one or the other. You can either have the drum audio from the sensor, or you can record just using the auxiliary input with no drums whatsoever. I wish there was an easier way to do that for making drum covers, but unfortunately there's not. So in my opinion, the easiest solution for that is record the camera or like on your phone or something with the sensor unit here, and then take that into a video editor app and get the studio track, download that, and then just overlay that with your drum audio and just sync it up. It takes a little practice, but you'll get there, I promise. If I can do it, anybody can. The other thing with that is, me personally, when I make drum covers, I have obviously the camera, and starting now pretty much, I will have it running through this DAW. So I will edit and mix all of the audio right in here, and then I will overlay that, the digital audio workstation or Cakewalk audio, with my camera, and then I will also take the studio track of whatever song, so Animals by Architects, which is my most recent one. I will take that into an app called Moises. It's a free app, and if you insert that MP3 file, it can separate different parts of the song, so like vocals, drums, bass, and then other. All, again, completely for free. So what I do, take the drum slider, set it to 0, take all of the studio drums out, and then you just have this drumless track, throw that into your editing app, and then just line everything up. So in all of the covers that I've done, all you're hearing is my drums. There's no studio drums whatsoever, except for a few very early covers that I did. But for the most part, it's just me playing. So that's the most common question that I get a lot, is you cannot record auxiliary and this at the same time. But yeah, that's really the hands down basics to recording with the EAD-10. However, there's another thing. If you connect it to a computer like this, you have to install drivers. Drivers are something free from Yamaha's website. Just Google Yamaha EAD-10 drivers or something like that. Get 32 or 64-bit depending on what operating system you use. Just quick Google search will give you that. But yeah, so if it's not connecting or registering in your DAW for whatever reason, there's a good chance you don't have drivers. Once you have drivers, then it should recognize it, blah, 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 and then it's pretty smooth sailing from there. If for whatever reason it does not recognize it after you install the drivers, that is a question for either A, your owner's manual, or B, for Yamaha themselves. Not me, I'm not a technician. But yeah, as far as just the raw audio from here, nothing else, no triggers, no processing whatsoever. If you want a little extra bass, then just use the trigger knob. Like right here, I have it set to not hard rock, that's the snare. I have it just set to rock. It's a decent enough sound, and then I just crank that to get that extra bass. So again, this is all personal preference. Don't do it just because I do it. It's do what you like, not what I do. So overall, it's not too terrible. Cymbal and drum like tuning choice does definitely play a part. Like this cymbal right here, my K Custom Dark Crash, I absolutely love this cymbal even though it's cracked. But this one does not typically come through very well in recordings just because of how it sounds. So I'm looking at replacing this one, but for the most part, the rest of the cymbals come through pretty well. The only overarching complaint that I have is that my floor toms here don't get picked up too well. And that's completely understandable because the microphone is all the way over there and it's trying to pick up a sound that's at about the same level that it's at all the way over here. So this one is hardly picked up at all, this one a little bit more. So then that's just a problem for the EQ, turn up the bass a little bit in those certain sections, but that's really it. I haven't had any major issues with it. I will say it was a one-time occurrence. I went to turn it on and it just said factory reset initiated. I don't know why, I didn't do anything, and all of my settings were erased. I had that issue like right after I first got it, and I've never had any problems since. So I don't know what's up with that, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. Like I said, it's happened once and I've never had a problem since. But yeah, that's the simplest explanation that I can come up with for the Yamaha EAD-10 in regards to all of the questions that I typically get asked. Like I said, if you have any further questions, please feel free to drop them down in the comments. I will absolutely do my best to answer as much of them as I can. If I don't get to your comment, reach out to me on Discord or Instagram. I will happily get back to you again as soon as I can, because I'm a busy person, so I will certainly try my best. But yeah, shoot me a message, leave a comment, and I'll do my best to get back to you and help you out. If I don't have any information, I'm very sorry, but then that's for your owner's manual or Yamaha themselves. Yeah, that's really all I got for you. Maybe another like information about the DAW and all that, how I process, how I edit, and all that fun stuff, but that's for another time. So that's the Yamaha EAD-10. I hope I answered some of your questions. If not, like I said, feel free to ask away. I will certainly try my best. But yeah, if you have the EAD-10, congratulations, you're going to love it. I absolutely love mine. Yeah, if for whatever reason you don't, feel free to reach out. I'll do my best to answer. But yeah, if you bought it, I'm here to settle your buyer's remorse. You got a great product. Awesome job. You're going to have a lot of fun with it. And yeah, that's really all I have for you fantastic people today. So take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And until next time.